have a trial.
Right.
And I think that is his obligation if you look at the Constitution. I disagree with my colleague. The Constitution is pretty clear about how this works. The House is responsible for impeaching. It doesn't say anything about how it has to go about that deliberative process. It doesn't say it has to have a vote in order to have an impeachment inquiry. That's it. That's not where the due process protections come in. The due process protections come in the Senate, where the president has the right to defend himself. He can have lawyers appear and defend himself. He can call witnesses. That's where he gets all of those due process protections. McConnell has been committed to having that trial. How he will do that will be up to him, and it'll be up to the Chief Justice, who under the Constitution has responsibility for overseeing that trial. Now, you mentioned Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Lindsey Graham has this capacity to contradict himself, which is pretty amazing. He was one of the impeachment managers when Bill Clinton was impeached. And there are lots of quotes from him about the importance of respecting the impeachment, about the importance of respecting a vote from the House, and the importance of having a trial, which they did in fact have for Bill.
Well, let me go back to, we discussed this the last time you were on. One of the arguments against the process that Mrs. Pelosi's launched, Doug Collins on the Judiciary Committee, Republican, has filed an amicus brief saying that it's illicit. It's true, as you pointed out. The Constitution is silent. It doesn't say you have to have a vote to begin the impeachment process. The three prior impeachment processes began with one. But the Constitution vests the authority for impeachment in the House, not in the Speaker of the House. And in all the other authorities the House has, for example, whether it's the Judiciary Committee or Intelligence Committee, the reason they have those powers is because the full House has authorized them to have those powers. And this doesn't begin here. So the question is, does impeachment begin just because the Speaker says it? And again, it could be not adjudicated. If it went to a court, the court could say, I leave this to you guys. It's none of our business. You guys sort it out. I would think that's somewhat of a victory for the president, because it would mean the court wouldn't enforce the subpoenas. If the White House is taking the position, we're not going to comply. So it kind of makes it very messy, doesn't it?
I don't think it's messy, because there are basically two forms of authority. There's the Constitution, which you already talked about, and there are the rules which the House sets.
And there's no rules on impeachment.
Right, but the House has an obligation to follow its rules. If it wanted to have rules on impeachment, it could have passed those rules. As you mentioned, it doesn't have any rules.
That's Doug Collins' point.
But it has followed its responsibility in terms of correctly appointing committee chairmen, which is what the rules require, and then referring these matters to the committees. Now, if the House were just to go straight to a vote on impeachment and not have any deliberative process at all, Republicans would be complaining about that they didn't engage in deliberation, they didn't hear witnesses. So Republicans can't have it both ways. Democrats are looking at this issue, they're taking time to consider it, they're bringing in witnesses, they have the right to do the process the way they want under the Constitution and their own rules, and then they will have an impeachment vote, and every member of the House will have to go on record on whether they vote in favor of impeachment or not. That's what the Constitution requires.
So can I make a really important point?